Are you a dentist looking to build wealth, maybe create passive income, and be able to eventually step away from the chair? Are there things that you feel like you should or could be doing, but you just don't know where to start? Hi, I'm Jonathan Moffat, a wealth strategist who's built and sold an 8-practice DSO. Now, I help dentists align their practice success with their personal financial freedom. Each week on this podcast, you'll discover strategies to boost your practice profitability, multiply your wealth, and transform your dental career into the lifestyle you've always dreamed of. This is Dental Wealth Multiplier. I've been kind of stuck on this concept about what makes like top performers.
Yeah.
And it was a topic of a talk I gave, and it's been something that I've just really been just kind of fascinated about. Like, and I was sharing with you before we hit record, I just went to a sports camp with my kids, and you get to interact with some of these, D1 collegiate athletes, football players, basketball players, tennis players, right? Just, it's kind of cool. The kids get to interact with them. But I remember like one of the coaches was turned to the basketball team here of the school. He goes to, 4 of the top basketball players right there. And he goes, how many shots a day do you take? He goes, 500 shots a day. How many do you take? 600. How many do you take? 7. Now they were kind of joking, like they're trying to one up each other. Right. But the point is, coach, like I can tell you personally, I know that every one of these guys takes at least 500 shots a day. Right.
Yeah.
Like you get Tiger Woods, Jack Nicklaus, like the top performers. What do they do? Tony Gwynn, right? Would notoriously, like, you're a baseball player.
Yes,
Tony Gwynn was like notorious for going out and doing batting practice and videoing it and watching the film late at night and going back and tweaking his. Every other major league baseball player or anyone who wants to be major could do that work, yet very few of them do. The technology is there to help, right? But so it's how are you going to, and it kind of goes back to like that kind of no more excuses thing. I think at the end of the day, the toughest pill to swallow, and look, I've been there. I ebb and flow through there. I'm not perfect with this. I have days where I get up and I'm like, I don't really feel like putting in the work today. But at the end of the day, like that's really the only excuse you're going to have is I don't feel like putting in the work. I don't feel like going and learning a new technology. I don't feel like holding my team accountable. I don't feel like delegating these tasks to a team of people who could create my SOPs and create training and create. I don't feel like doing it. I don't want to do it. Okay, that's okay. Then the result of that is going to be you're going to be burned out. You're going to get to a point where you don't want to do dentistry anymore. Even
frustrated by everybody else is growing faster than you.
Frustrated by everyone else. Frustrated by my XYZ colleague at my study club said he sold his practice. Like but the reality is you could also do there. You can also get there. And I think something that you and I both see eye to eye on, Eric, is this idea of like, how do you turn your practice into an investment? How do you go from operator to investor? And every single person listening to this call can do it. I'm telling you right now, you can all do it. Eric's done it. I did it. I'm not a dentist, but we did it with our practices. We were doing $14 million a year in revenue. I was working 2 to 3 hours a week on that business. That was it. Right. You did it. I did it. Everyone does it a little bit differently. But the point is, if you're listening to this podcast, we're telling you can do it. It's not doable. That hard. You just have to make the decision to do it. That's it.
Do you know, Jonathan, I think you hit on something like more intriguing. So I heard, means nothing. There's no validation here. I heard dental school data that college athletes, high-performing college athletes performed outlier well in dental school. So I knew we had a number when I was in dental school. I knew there was actually a surprisingly high number of fellow students that were NCAA Division I athletes or D2, right? And I heard that there was a data correlation that because they look at it, they're like, okay, we hire, like, how do these dentists turn out as we go along? What are the qualities? And so you pointed something out in there, and you pointed out like the mindset and the approach of high-performing athletes. The mindset and the approach of high-performing athletes do hard freaking things every day. Like find solutions, do your 500 freaking shots every single day. Do your 500 shots with great form. Master your diet, right? Like recover like a mofo. Like what's LeBron spending $2-3 million a year just on recovery?
Yeah.
Like doing the things that other people aren't willing to do to have an advantage that other people won't have. And so is it perhaps that outlier performance mindset that is what's making the difference that we talk about in the shift. And like, is it possible that that's like the upper echelon of the top 10% of dentists, which are the ones we tell stories about? Like the ones that pull the trigger, the ones that do the stuff. Like, what would it look like for us to have a categorization of mindsets of dentists? That top 10% that's like, yeah, I'll do what other people won't to have what other people can't. Right? Like, so just kind of acknowledging that. I mean, I see it in my son. Like, I see it in my son as an athlete. Like, he don't got it. I love him. Maybe he'll discover it. I didn't uncover it until I was in college. By grace, I was good enough to be a D1 college athlete. Oh, that's interesting. I'm an example. I hadn't even thought about that.
Oh, I thought you said when I was in baseball. I thought you said it. Yeah.
I didn't even say it.
For those of you who don't know, Eric, you played D1 baseball, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I played at Florida State. We were number 1 team in the country. I was on stage every single day in the most important games in the United States, right? And like there was a certain I didn't have that when I went in, but I uncovered it while I was there, right? That like there's no light too bright that scares me, you know? Like when everything's on the line and the ball's in my hand, like I'm here, baby. Like this is what I prep for. This is what I play for, you know? And so I don't know, just uncovering, Jonathan, that.
Well, I think it's important to notice for some people, they can uncover that on their own. I think those are even a small, like a fraction of a percentage of people that kind of, right? Like I've kind of uncovered this on my own.
Yep.
For others, like my sport was soccer. I played soccer growing up.
Yep.
And what was interesting is a lot of my friends that I played soccer with, and I only played one year of soccer in college. So I always tell of like anyone who played more than a year of collegiate sports is like, my hat goes off to you because it is so much freaking.
There's a line.
Like I have
There's
no
a line
clue.
in the sand.
It is amazing. I mean, a lot of respect for you guys. But what was interesting is I've gone back and now, 46, kind of talking about the coaching. If you were to like pinpoint one point where you went from kind of average, kind of I'm okay to like I'm a top performer, what was it? For a lot of people, it was I had a really good coach. I had someone who had the blueprint of what to do. They held me accountable. They didn't let me off the hook. They coached me. And that's how I got from here to ultimately where I wanted to be. And what's even more interesting about that, going back full circle to how you started off our recording around your upcoming training for associates is what do even the elite performers have? They not only have coaches, they have specialized coaches.
Yep.
Right? I want to coach for everything.
For my finances, for my personal wealth, for my mindset, for the way I carry myself and my family, and for 3 different assets in my practice. I got a hygiene coach.
Yep.
I got an executive leadership coach, and we've got a coach for our associates, right? Yep. Nailed it, Jonathan.
Because no one's an expert in all things, right? You and I both talk about this all the time. And having a specialized person who's just a coach. And again, what's interesting too, is you're saying this, I'm like rattling through my brain of like our top performing clients. And it's like, guess what? They have a coach for their hygiene. They have a coach for their associates. They have a coach for leadership. They make time to work on leadership, to reflect on their practice and their business. And so in an effort to not sound like, Jonathan and Eric, you guys sound like every other podcast out there. Like, right. It's like, I get it. But guess what? Fundamentals work. And it's like, it's really not more complicated than that. I know we want it to be. I know we want it to be like, buy this equipment or sign up for this technology or whatever. And again, those things are aids. Those should aid you in getting what you, at the end of the day, it's who's willing to wake up, who's willing to do the hard thing, who's willing to sit there and run the morning huddle when no one else feels like doing it, when the team's like, I don't want to be here, right?
To show up and put your pants and put your A game on and say, hey, I know you all are down. Pull your crap together. Our patients don't give a crap. They need us A game today. So go like find your A game, right? Yeah. I will add one caveat. I think you are 100% correct. Not just coaches, environment. Let me say a different way, community. So I love my coaches. They were great. But I think the thing that had as much of an impact on me was the other dudes who showed me what was possible by shifting their mindset.
Cool.
Who showed me what hard work looked like, right? It was the other guys that when I got there for practice had already been there for 2 hours working out. And I was like, man, I was so tired yesterday. I was swamped. And they said, yeah, I don't care. Like tired don't get us back to Omaha. That was the pervasive thing. And I was like, damn, right? Okay, so there's another level that I can dig down into. And I had a choice. Do I allow the environment to change my approach? Or do I allow the environment to suppress my approach? And I will almost tell you, like, I know a lot of people that the environment, they're like, oh yeah, it's not me, I'm out. Like, it's good, thank you. But then, you know, that like, again, I guess the higher you go in sports, like you're cultivating for that. I bet you it's the same thing in dentistry. You know, I've noticed it when I operated in the most elite DSO like building communities. They all had that mindset. They were all focused on their development, their growth, and their coaching, and like they're all focused on stuff. Heck, that's why they're my clients still, and that they're reaching out saying, Eric, help me with this portion of my business. Help me have better systems for developing doctors. Because they know the game, you know? So I mean, I think it's pretty logical what we're talking about, but it's hard.
I think so too. But again, I always tell this, kind of give this example. There's people that I've seen who in my life and grew up around entrepreneurs, business owners who are always looking for that silver bullet.
Yeah.
Right. Ooh, if I just sign up for this course or pay this person, like all my problems are going to be solved. My business problems are going to be solved. Right.
Yes.
And then they're let down because that didn't happen. And then they're like, man, that was a waste of money. I'm going to go look for another. Oh, this guy says he can do that. I'm going to go spend money there. Right.
Yep.
And again, what we've seen, and I don't know, Eric, between you and I, we probably talk to 30, 40, 50 doctors a week. I mean, I have no clue.
It feels right.
What's interesting, and no one wants to hear it because it's like the same thing of like, how do you get into shape? Eat healthy and exercise, right? No one wants to hear that. It's like, or I can just do this magic. Never mind. I'm not going to go there. Anyways, it is hard. I was going to say it's not hard. It's hard. Consistency is hard. Being consistent and being disciplined is very difficult. It's what separates the top of performers from the rest is they're consistent. They have the hard conversations. I go back to an interview that you and I did with one of our clients who have a 9-location group in Chicago. If you guys want to listen to it, it's Aereo Dental. They talk about this in that podcast, one of the top performing groups. What do? They're like, we're purposeful with we're purposeful who we hire. If they're not a good fit, we get rid of them quickly. We only hire top performers. We spend a lot of time reinvesting back into our team training, right? Like they're very purposeful with that. And because they've been able to do that, what have they done? They've gone from operator to investor. They're not clinical. They're working on how do they run the practice, right? That sort of thing. And so I think one of the things I'd like to do, and I'm just throwing this out there. So I'd be curious to see what you come up with, but I'd like to, for the people listening, give them like, what's like an actionable, tangible, something they can, like, if they're listening, like, oh, go do this to kind of be that first step, towards moving in this direction. I have a couple of ideas, and I'm happy to go first, or if you have a couple ideas, I'd love to hear what your thoughts are.
This is change management, right? And that's really what coaching is change management. And so what you're asking is, you're saying, what's the first step for somebody that's listening right now that says, I want to be better, and I'll offer mine, right? The first reason that we have to ask that question is we have to figure out what the benefit is to us by things actually being. And what I mean by that is like the vision of the better future. And it's not enough to just say bigger practice or like making more money or whatever else. It's actually what comes out of those. What changes about you because of the thing that's there? Because if it's not sweet enough and it's not sexy enough and it's not desirable enough, you'll never make it. Like you will never fight through the hard days if the thing that you're after, honestly, it's one of the biggest problems in my life right now. I've already made great money. And like some days I'm like, that's not great enough. That's not going to change anything for me. And so that'd be great short term, but I don't want it long term, right? So you have to be hungry for the future that you want. That's step one. Second thing is it's got to be in writing, because every day things change, John. And if we don't establish where we're going in writing, there's no energy. We're going to lose focus. Oh, I totally forgot. Third thing is it has to go from writing on the wall to actions every day. Like actions every day. And like, you have to know what it is. You have to know why you're doing it, and you have to go freaking do it. It's got to be in your schedule. The fourth thing is then there's got to be shared accountability. If I don't tell my brother, Jonathan, I need you to like hold me accountable that I'm doing this. Like I'm holding you accountable that you're doing your thing. I am not going to get anywhere inside of it. And then the fifth thing is you got to call timeout every once in a while and say, okay, hold on. 90 days ago, why I live 90-day rhythms. 90 days ago, I said, this was the thing. This is what I'm fighting for. Where am I? On track, off track? Do I still want it? What do I need to adjust to be able to move faster, like more effectively? And then you dig back in and start your cycle again. So that's my Eric Roman 5-step program for change management.
I love it.
What would you do?
I heard have a purpose, right? Mm-hmm. You gotta have a strong enough purpose, write it down.
Yep.
Right. Have the goals, write it down, share it with someone, hold you accountable. Right. And what was number 5?
Refresh. You got to call time out
every 90 days,
assess where you are, look and make the adjustments and go do it again.
Yeah. No, I love that. I love that. I would say the thing that comes to mind for me is if you're sitting here listening, like, I don't even know where to begin, echo everything Eric said. I would also say, just start writing down either the things, the activities of your day that you either love to do. Like you think about, if my day was filled with this, or if all I do is this, I would be so happy, right? Or the activities you don't love to do, you hate to do, and just list those out. What are those things? And just start by an exercise that we go through when I speak is you list out all the things that you currently do. So what is your day filled? Oh, I see patients, I do everything, right? And then the next column is, can you delegate that to someone? Sometimes it's yes, sometimes it's no. Right. If it's yes, great. Next column is, who can you delegate that to? Do you have someone on your team you can delegate that to? Again, either yes or no. If it's yes, who's that person? And then finally, by when are you going to have that delegated, right? Mm-hmm. And so starting to identify those things that you're spending your time doing that don't give you value, don't get joy out of you, no, look, should everything be fun? No, everything shouldn't be fun. But what starts, if you're going to make this shift from operator to investor, if you want to make this shift from burnout to excitement, which, by the way, we all go through it. Every entrepreneur goes through it, right? Everyone goes through it, right? You have to start with identifying what are those things that are causing me to burn out, or what are those things that give me the excitement. And I start filling my bucket with more things that give me excitement and less things that give me burnout. And if you'll do that, you'll notice a massive shift. You'll notice a renewed energy, focus, excitement for your practice, for your business, your practices. And you'll also go, oh man, like I love this question. Someone asked me this question 3 years ago, because I was at this point, I was like kind of feeling burned out. Like, man, I don't know how much longer I can do this. They go, okay, let's say you sold your practice. Let's say you sold your business, Jonathan. What would you do? And I go, I don't know, I'd go start another business.
Yeah.
Okay. So then maybe selling the business isn't the right solution. Right. So I don't know. It's just, that's for me, like identify those things that are either giving you the adding value to your life or causing you that pain or that burnout. Start identifying those and start shifting those things that are giving you burnout out of your life to make more space to things that are adding value. And I guarantee if you do that, I bet you if you do that, you'll be a little happier. You'll find a little more joy in your days and a renewed excitement. If my wife were on this podcast, she'd say, I could tell her the date. She'd go, yep, that's when Jonathan, I saw like a new light energy lit in him. And I was like a totally different, and I think that's a big piece. Does that take work? Yeah, it takes work. Might you need to go to therapy to do that? Absolutely. I've talked about EMDR on here, right, Eric? We've talked about that. Like that helped me out 2 years ago, get a lot of clarity around where I was at and kind of helping me move through. That's okay. There's nothing wrong with needing therapy, needing help, needing coaching, especially when we're trying to do something that's really, really hard and that a very small percentage of business owners, let alone dentists, actually figure out how to do it. You're going to need coaching. You're going to need help, accountability, all those things that Eric talked about. And you're going to need people, the guidance of someone who's done it, people that have done it, and that's not to say there are reasons to sell your practice. Just make sure you're doing it for the right reason, not out of avoidance. Again, I think there are right times or right reasons to sell, but make sure you're doing it for the right reason.
Jonathan, what I loved inside of what you're saying, you focused on a lot of energy. You talk about energy stacking, positive energy stacking. One thing that I might throw in there too is that sometimes when we're in a rut, we need an energy conversion. Like we need that proverbial firecracker up the butt. And I actually recognize that that's what sometimes good communities do. You know, I have a unique community of people in the dental industry that like just meet together at my home every 90 days, usually about 30 people. It's about 100 in the total community. What I've started to acknowledge is that like what the event provides is it like pivots people's energy. Like if you're already on a little bit of fire, it might turn you into like an atomic energy source. When sometimes your energy is off, it's one of those things that turns people and fires them back up. And so sometimes that's the power of events. Maybe it's like, maybe your gym's a Tony Robbins event. Maybe there's another industry event or something like that you go to. You know what I love? Like, I feel like when an event is done well, the majority of the audience is like, comes out of there with like fire. Like, okay, that was a great idea. I can do this. Like, because if that Eric can do it, that idiot, I'm fine, you know? So I think I just like acknowledge, put a pin in that one as well, that sometimes too, our response when stuff is hard is that we go internal and we like turn inward. And I'm sitting in that myself right now. Like I've been working really hard lately. Maybe I need to turn that in, you know?
Yeah. Look, it can be a lonely road, right? Entrepreneurship, it can be a lonely road. We've talked about that, but it doesn't have to be. There's, again, going back to technology, community, LinkedIn, Facebook, right? Like there's so many communities out there, people going through what you're going through. And if you don't know of any, email Eric or I, we'll point you in the right direction. We'll send you a couple. There's a lot of communities out there, no matter where you're at. But hopefully no one's feeling that kind of aloneness. And like I said, if you are, please email us. We'll point you in the right direction, get you connected with some
Jonathan,
great people.
Let me just re-say that. Somebody is. Like, we know it's true. You've been there and I've been there. We've all spent our time there. We've all spent our time in the pit of despair. I think when we say it's like, hopefully we're not, we of course don't want anybody there, but odds are there's a pretty good percentage of people that are listening to it that are there. And that would only be normal, you know? Like, I want to normalize that. And then lovingly, we're saying, now let us help you get your butt out. You know, like, let's go do it. Let's go find your friends. Let's go find the group. Let's go find the energy. Let's do this stuff. And if the first doesn't work, go find a second. And if the second doesn't work, find a third, you know? Yeah. I mean, what would the stories be like for the athletes, for all the famous athletes, if the failure and the loss was the defining moment, right? If that was the end, we'd have no Jordan. We'd have no Jordan if like not making the high school team was the end of the story. Nobody would even tell the story. But the story is the story because of what happened next. And maybe that's an encouragement for all of us, is that our story is a story because of what we're going to do next.
Let's just stick with the baseball theme. Eric, what's a good batting average?
A good career batting average is 275.
Okay. So let's just think about that for a second, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
For every 10 at bats, you're getting 2.75 hits.
Yep.
Which means you're striking out or getting out. What's the reverse math on that? 7.75%.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And that's a professional athlete.
Yep.
That's getting paid a lot of money to play baseball.
If it's 7 out of 10 failures, there's a good chance you're making the Hall of Fame.
Yeah. So think about that next time you're feeling bad for yourself, right?
Yeah.
Like many people listening to this probably don't have 7 out of 10 failures every year they step into the practice, or many people would just, most dentists probably just quit, right? If 7 out of 10 dentists, you had a failure, he's probably like, I'm not doing this anymore. I'm out, right?
Gosh, like, isn't that interesting? Yeah. And you know, the other thing about that, like, is that it just takes one. Just takes one success. Like, let's say you failed your first 5 times at attempting practice. It just takes one to win and to succeed for it to be fine. Just one, you know?
Same thing with employees, right? You may go through 6 different associates or 5 different hygienists or whatever that is, right? There's a lot of people that just throw in that, hey, it's not working. I don't think an associate's for me. I'm just going to keep doing this by myself until I physically can't do dentistry anymore. Okay. Or that next associate could be the one, right? Or maybe it's not the associates, maybe it's the training, right? Maybe there's a lack of systems. Maybe there's not the right. I was talking to a client today who's losing an associate. And I said, hey, what's going on? He goes, well, we couldn't find a hygienist for the associate. And the associate told us if I don't have a hygiene, that I can do hygiene checks. Like I can't stay here anymore. It's not working. Right. Well, they didn't find a hygienist. So the associate's like, I'm leaving. Right. So sometimes we know why they leave. Sometimes we don't. It doesn't really matter whether we do or don't. I mean, certainly try and do exit interviews. I think that's an important thing. Try and learn as much as you can so that you can improve. But again, going back to the kind of that top performer mentality is just like, okay, whether you know or you don't, you brush yourself off, you go get another associate, you keep pushing forward. You shouldn't allow that to derail you from your plan or your path that you're on, right? That's where I think what you said, what I really like what you said about your 5 steps, that number one, that why, like that purpose has to be so strong that you're like, man, this takes me, you know how long I've been trying to get myself out of the operating role in my business, Eric? 3 you know how many times I've thought like, man, this just isn't worth it. This isn't working. I'm just going to settle or do like a lot. As recently as a few months ago, I was like, getting ready for the day. I looked at my wife. I'm like, am I doing the right thing here?
I get you, buddy.
This is really hard. Right. And I have someone who I think is going to be the perfect integrator operator, right? If EOS integrator operator, right? And I think he's going to be perfect. And I'm already feeling a lot of momentum, and that's great. But guess what? I also know it might not work out. And that's okay, because I'm committed to this path. And if it doesn't work out, I'm going to go try and find someone else. If that doesn't work out, I'm going to find someone else, right? And so I think that level of commitment, because I believe at my core that my business is the best residual income investment that I could potentially make in my business, just like I believe that to my core with the dental practice. Great. If you believe that, if you want that, you can do it, but it's not easy. It takes it's hard work. It's consistency. It's doing the hard things. It's everything we've talked about today. But the good news is you've got a community of people that support you. And if you can reach out to Eric and I, if you need to find those people, we are those people. We're happy to support you. Just continue to stay on that journey. And I don't know, Eric, what do you have for us for any parting words or thoughts?
If this was easy, everybody would be doing it.
I love it.
Everybody's not doing it. And I don't throw shade to like convict people of not doing same day crowns and stuff like that. Like I get it. And I'm sure there's an equally valid argument. I'm just acknowledging like change is hard for all of us. You know, if there's one thing that sits underneath this, it's change. And it's one thing to support change in a practice. It's one thing to support change in your family. It's one thing to support change in your person, but changing you is the worst and hardest thing to do. And I
need to change. I'm perfect.
I'm the most stubborn mofo you're gonna find. Like and Jonathan, everything you say, I ditto. Like about the days I've been in a rut, I get up and I look in the mirror and I'm like, what are you gonna do? Create any value for anybody today, Eric? Because like you suck. You know, like why am I doing what I'm doing? I need to go get a job. You know, so like I need to go get a job and work for Jonathan. You know, because he's clearly got everything together, you know? So the stories we all tell.
That's the beauty. I think that's the beauty of what you just said, Eric. I don't think anyone has it all figured out. Anyone's got it all together, right? I think you can have moments where you do, and where it feels that way. But again, I'll go back and say something I've talked about before, like with our practices, when everything was like good and like running well, we had all the positions. I'd literally look at my operator, and I'd go, crap.
Yeah.
Because I just knew it was about to change. I knew it was going to stay that way very long.
Yep, you're absolutely right. That is the thing. Well, Jonathan, this is good.
It's all good. It's all good. We're at golden age of dentistry, right? Never a better time, I think, to be in this space, in this business. Every day we're faced with different challenges, but it's all good. It's all good stuff.
Yeah, it's perfect.
All right, brother.
I appreciate you, man.
Thanks for joining us on Dental Wealth Multiplier. To make sure you don't miss an episode, go ahead and click the subscribe button. You can also visit us at dentalwealthmultiplier.com to get access to the links or materials mentioned in today's podcast. You can also see other episodes and get access to the most recent reports, tools, and information to continue your wealth building journey.